first YouTube video I've ever done, so bear with me. Basically, I wanted to start this because my sister started a channel and she just talks about her life as a quadriplegic, and I just wanted to kind of give it another perspective of like a family member of someone who's been through something traumatic like that, and just kind of like my experience from my point of view, because I think it's important. It's been a hard year. So I kind of just want to start at the beginning. It was the last summer going into my sophomore year at the University of Maine. I ended up going to sleep and I wake up and I check my phone, check the time in the middle of the night, and it's like 3, and I have like 12 missed calls from my mom. And then I see like a huge long text from her, so I'm like, oh my god, and the first line was, Erin's been in an accident. So I open the text and I read it, and I wish I still had it, but I got a new phone since then, so all my texts were deleted. But it said, like, Erin's been in an accident, we have to go to Boston, because at this time, my sister Erin was visiting my brother, who had an apartment in Boston. She had met up with her boyfriend, because he's from Pennsylvania, and they had just met in Boston to hang out for a few days. The text said, she's gonna be okay. She was sitting on the hammock on Todd's roof at his apartment, and there was a chimney and it collapsed on her. I skimmed the text and I just called my mom like instantly, and I was like, what's going on? She's like, I'm in Boston with Dad, and I was trying to call you because Tobin's home, who was my little brother, who was 13 at the time. And she was like, I just feel bad that we left him home like overnight, and I was wondering, I was gonna ask you to drive home. And obviously I don't sleep. So I'm sitting in my room, like lights on, and I'm just calling my mom like every 10 minutes, like, what's the update, what's the update? So at this point I had known that Erin had gone into surgery. She got a rod put in her neck, and she had like, I think I knew she had a neck injury. And so at this point I'm thinking like, oh my god, like what if my sister can never turn her head again? 5 a.m. comes around, I hear Libby's alarm, and I go in her room and I sat down and I explained to her what happened. We get in my Subaru at the time, and she drives me home like an hour, and I'm just like texting people, like trying to find a ride to Boston, trying to figure out how to get there. Erin's in the ICU, my brother's there, my mom's there, my dad's there. I get to the ICU and I like see my mom, and Jack was there, Erin's boyfriend. I just like to say the ICU is a horrible place. There's like beeps and buzzes, and it's just like, ugh, it's horrible. And I go back, and obviously I see Erin, and she's hooked up to like tubes and like IVs, and she's like looks unconscious. Like she's not talking, her eyes are closed, and I'm not like a crier, so it's like I'm trying to remember, I don't know why, I'm trying to remember all the times I cried, but just because it's like significant for me, I don't know. I think I cried when I saw her. She was like in and out, she was really drugged up, and she couldn't talk. So all she could do was mouth words. So basically we're talking to her and she's mouthing words, and it's like a guessing game. So we're like guessing what she's saying. Lee, our older sister who lives in Florida, she flew in, I wanna say the next day. We all stayed at my brother's apartment, which was like a 10-minute walk from the hospital. And Tobin did end up being there. I wanna say my dad went back and got Tobin and brought him back. I think my dad was back and forth a lot. I don't know if they're technically allowed one person there overnight. I don't think they are, but I think they let my mom stay. So my mom would just stay and bring a chair and sleep next to my sister. So she was there for 21 days. So this is such a blur. I know I went home at some point in this 21 days. I did not stay for 21 days. I think I did go home to like deal with things and talk to people. And the first time I went up was with her friends, her best friends, Sydney, Kristen, and I think Abby was with us too. But I remember with Kristen and Sid and Abby, and when Lee got there, they kind of have these posters in the ICU. It's so that your nurses can get to know you, so you fill out, it's like all these questions like, what's my name, what's my favorite color, what are my favorite things to do, and like you can add pictures and stuff. So we like filled out this whole thing, and we wrote a bunch of funny stories on the back of it, and then we went and my mom had us like read them to her and try to make her laugh and stuff. What? Making fun of Lee and Riley with Todd. Because you guys are normal.
Did Todd sneak that one in there?
Yeah, I put that one in there.
Sneaking into the walk-in freezer at Camp Lorwell.
I'm getting caught by Richie and Nate.
And you were in there with the lights off and they came in.
And then they just shut the lights back off and left.
Awkward. They say, like, you don't remember a lot from the ICU. You're so drugged up. But we have a lot of it on video. My mom was, like, insistent on filming it all so that when Erin improves, she can look back on it. And it is nice that my mom filmed it because Erin made, like, a whole year-out video, which I can add the link to it and stuff on her YouTube. But it's really cool to watch. I think the hardest thing for me, the few hardest things was I called all her friends, just basically anybody that was close to her. My best friends, I FaceTimed, and at this point, I didn't really know. It was like she might never walk again kind of thing. No, the doctors weren't very upfront with us because we knew it was a C6 spinal cord injury, and you know, if any doctor heard that, they would say her chances of walking again are very unlikely. But oddly enough, none of the doctors told us that, and I don't know why. We always talk about that because when I was calling all her friends, I said, you know, Erin's been in this accident, a hammock, she was sitting on a hammock on the top of my brother's roof, and there was attached to a chimney on one side, and it collapsed and fell on top of her and crushed her. And she might never walk again, she has a spinal cord injury, and I mean, like, I'm saying this, like, trying not to cry, because I'm trying not to freak people out. And obviously everyone's having the same reaction, and they start crying, and I'm just like, play it cool, like, you know, because I don't know, I was making these calls, like, one after the other. Throughout this, like, whole time when she's in the ICU, trying to comfort my mom and, like, talking with my brother, and we're just all talking, like, what are we gonna do? And I remember, like, arguing with my brother Todd, my older brother, a lot. Halfway through at one point, a doctor came in, and she sat down with us, and she was super smart. I don't remember her name, but she was the head of the something. She was important. She wrote books and stuff. So she sat down with us, and she was like, the chances that she will walk again, it's basically a miracle if she walks again. And she's talking to me, my mom, my brother. And no one had said this to us in, like, weeks. Use her hands and fine motor skills, probably not. Okay, so the GoFundMe. So I remember going back, my mom and my dad went and cleaned out her dorm where she lived. She lived at her work, basically. They dormed people. She was a waitress at a camp. I like to write and stuff, so I was like, of course, like, I'll do that. And we had gone back and forth on making GoFundMe because we didn't want people to think we were, like, I don't know, asking for money, but I guess that's, like, we did need the money. I mean, these are millions of dollars of hospital bills, you know? It's not like we have that money. So yeah, we went back and forth, and we didn't know how open we wanted to be and how we wanted to tell everyone, because to go public with something like that, I mean, the amount of texts that I got was overwhelming. Just my phone was every single second someone was texting me, and I mean, the support was amazing from my community, and I, like, wouldn't have wanted it any other way. But it's overwhelming, because how do you reply the same thing to everybody over and over? And I think I might have started copying and pasting, just sending hearts, I don't know. Once I made the GoFundMe, like, it was crazy. And just explained, like, our family dynamic and that she was gonna be a quadriplegic. People were sharing it a ton. And I think we ended up getting, like, $75,000. And I think at first I put the goal at, like, 10,000 or something. And I just kept changing the goal because people kept donating. And at this point I was getting, like, news channels emailing me, like, probably 15 of them, like Boston news channels emailing me saying, like, can we do an interview? Can we meet you at the hospital? At first I was like, okay, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And then I was like, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm still processing, I'm still dealing with this. So I didn't reply to any of them. And one time we were sitting in the ICU waiting room, and, like, it's right on the news, and it's like, woman in Boston crushed by a chimney.
Well, so Erin Field was here in Boston, enjoying the summer, visiting her brother in North Carolina with her boyfriend, when this chimney came crashing down tonight.
The first news, like, cast came out, I think the day after it happened, and I remember just watching that, and, like, it just shows Erin being pulled down from the roof on this, like, big crane thing, and I'm like, it's just weird. They say just woman in Boston. So, oh, that was so weird. After the GoFundMe, of course, I was back and forth from Boston, so probably the second hardest thing I had to do was we talked to a doctor, counselor kind of guy who was like, basically, like, you should tell her what's going on. And I think at this point she had a trach, so they, like, cut a hole, she had a tube, she still couldn't talk. She couldn't talk till, like, after she got out of the ICU. So he was like, you should tell her. When I did the GoFundMe, my mom was like, you should read it to her, basically. So everybody left the room, and I went in, this was toward the end. I want to say this was like the last 5 days of her being in the ICU because she started coming to and remembering, I think, things at this point. So I start reading her the GoFundMe, and I talked about her relationship with each of us. I think like my section about her and I just said like, Erin is my best friend in the whole wide world, and we both play field hockey, and I mean, I just started bawling. Like, we were both just crying, and it was like hard to read, and then I get to the point where I'm just reading and saying like, Erin's gonna be a quadriplegic, and I think that was the first time anyone had said that to her. That was like one of the hardest things that I've done when she was there. At one point her heart stopped, so I get a call in like 11 p.m. and this was the one night. My mom didn't sleep there one night, and it was the night that her heart stopped. So her heart stopped and they had to do CPR for like 2 minutes to bring her back. So basically she died. And I don't want to say we joke about that now, but I always tell her, I'm like, you know, you died. Like, that's pretty crazy. So, I mean, we're all glad that my mom wasn't there because I think she would just like, I mean, that would have like killed my mom. Like, she would have been a mess. So it was good that my mom didn't have to see that. So she ends up moving from the ICU to Spalding rehab in Charlestown, Mass. At this point, once she was at Spalding, I think she still had the trach, but she got the trach out there so she could talk. And I hadn't seen her for 50 days.
Hey Siri. I just got paralyzed in July. What do I do?
Speechless.
I said I'm sorry.
Erin's got this big old bed to herself, and I got this to share with Mom, so...
You said you missed me.
Spalding, I think, was really hard for Erin. She was sick a lot. She would get dizzy. She was tired. She was weak, you know, just dealing with all these things that are new to her and stuff. Every single second my mom was there. So my mom was living with her at Spalding. You just do rehab every day, and they just work with you to try to strengthen you. You know, your schedule's full. I was in field hockey season, and I asked my coach, we had a weekend where we were in Boston, and I was like, can I go, not come back with you guys, and just go see my sister? So I did that, and that was awesome, because I got to see her in Spalding, and we laughed a lot, and it was sad to leave, because she got really sad when she had company, and then they left, because it was kind of like we were going back to our normal, real lives, and she was just had to stay there. And I mean, I felt horrible. But for me, it was like I was here and there, and my head was like everywhere. And my coach said, like, she didn't even think that I was gonna play. So I mean, I'm glad I played. I think it was a big distraction, but it was just hard because I couldn't be there. But I think if I didn't play, I would have been stressed about trying to go to Boston and trying to be here. And it's not that they needed me in Boston, but it was good. It would have been good to have me, but it was like, it would have been overwhelming for me. So, you know, I think it was a good balance.
Yeah, we had like.
I heard that though. I heard that
Yeah,
we had like a big.
That's my tray call!
Like,
So, I think what people don't realize is the hardest thing I think that I've had to deal with going through this entire thing was feeling like I lost my mom and my sister. And for a year, because my mom couldn't be on the phone with me for more than 5 minutes because she, you know, needed to help Erin with something, and she moves her around a lot and she can't be like on the phone. And, you know, Erin for a while was sick, really sick and not doing well. So it wasn't like I could just text her. I could text her, but, you know, it'd be my mom replying for her, and I could call her and FaceTime her, and I did, but it was short and she didn't have a lot of energy. And so I really felt for a while that I had completely lost my relationship with my sister and with my mom. I lost them in my life for a while, and that was really, really, really hard because I was grieving a loss of a relationship, of like a person, but they were still there, and it was seriously the most strange thing that I've ever had to go through. So in the spring, I got super down, and I started just like, and I got a concussion, which I think this played a part in the way I was feeling after the fact. But I got a concussion, so I like had to be in my room in the dark and not do a lot, and that was really hard for me because it was like me and my thoughts. I was out for 2 weeks, and then on the third week was spring break. So me and my best friend Lydia I went to Florida for spring break, and that was good because I got to see my oldest sister and her boyfriend, and we went to Disney for a day, and that was really fun. After I got back from spring break, it was like going from the sun to going back to the winter, and I was like depressed. Field hockey wasn't the same anymore, and I didn't want to be in Maine, and I honestly think it would have been anywhere that I was playing. I would not have wanted to be there. I just wasn't happy. And I love UMaine, and I loved it freshman year, and I love playing, and I love it now. So like once I was out of this like whole like pit of my life, I realized like I do love it here, and I don't hate the cold. I've lived here my whole life. But it was like any reason I could find to hate it, I was hating it. And my head just wasn't in it for field hockey anymore. It wasn't in it for school. My GPA was awful. I was just sad. I met with my coaches one day and I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I just don't feel like I connect with my friends anymore. And really at the time, even my friends can vouch for this, I didn't want to hang out with my friends. I wanted to be alone all the time because it was hard for me to connect to my friends on a level where I felt like the things that I was dealing with were like really deep and dark, and I felt like maybe the things they were dealing with weren't. And it was not to undermine anyone else's stresses or like what they're going through, but I guess I just was like, poor me, and like saw myself as a victim. And I mean, in a sense I was, but I had a bad mindset, and I didn't want to see anyone else or hear about anyone else's problems. I just wanted to like wallow in my own pity. And met with my coaches, and I was like, I don't connect with my friends. I don't like field hockey anymore. I don't want to be here. I want to transfer. And they were sitting there like trying to convince me to stay in a way, but they were like, we're not going to want to force you to do anything you don't want to do. I was like, I'll give it another week and see. So that weekend we had a scrimmage at Quinnipiac, and they put me as center forward, and I freaking loved it. I had so much fun, and I was almost like pissed that I had fun. I'm like, wait, why do I like this? And it just kind of reminded me like why I like field hockey in the first place. It was just fun, and I wasn't thinking too much, and it was a good distraction, and I enjoyed being with my friends because most of my best friends are like on the team. That kind of flipped my mindset to want to work harder to be happy. I don't know, like I didn't just wake up one day and like decide to try to change my life, but I was thinking like I can either continue to be unhappy, transfer and be unhappy somewhere else, or I can work hard to make my life something that I enjoy. So at this point, after we played the spring game and stuff, I started listening to podcasts, and that sounds weird, but I started listening to like positive podcasts, and I was taking my dog, long story, but I don't have my dog anymore. I rehomed him because it was just too much, but I would take my puppy on like 2-hour walks every day, and I would listen to podcasts the entire time. And I made myself get up early every morning, and that was something that I did. I listened to a podcast, and I took my dog on a walk like through the trails behind school, which are so pretty, and I started doing that every day. I started doing yoga every day. So I would take my dog on a walk, I would come back, take a shower, do yoga, and then I started to paint. And I hadn't painted in like years, like I never painted. I didn't paint. And I've always kind of liked the arts and stuff, and I like play instruments and I sing and whatever. So I started to paint, and I just like it was the one thing that I could do that I didn't think about anything else in the whole world. I kind of made a commitment to myself that I would work really hard to try to like make myself happy. So at this point, I'm weeks into doing this routine, and I'm just like euphoric. Like every morning I was like, oh, I'm so like grateful to just like be here. And I'm at like a super high. Like, so I went from the lowest to like super high. Like I was extremely happy, and nothing could bring me down. In May, I went to a concert, which was really fun with my friend Emma. We saw Post Malone. That was amazing. You probably think that you are bad now, right now. You only say that 'cause I'm not around. I'm just saying, next morning at like 4 a.m., I wake up, I go to the airport, and I fly to Aaron's school for graduation. So my whole family was together again for that, and they dedicated like a whole part of graduation to Aaron, and it was like amazing. And I started bawling like uncontrollably, and I don't even think I was crying. Like it was just tears just rolling out of my eyes like a water fountain.
Aaron Field's life took an unexpected turn less than a year ago on July 11th, 2018. She was involved in a very serious accident when a brick chimney fell and landed on her, causing life-threatening injuries. Aaron is an English major, former field hockey player, and member of a family with strong ties to Goucher. Aaron's sister Lee is a 2016 alumna. Her brother Todd is a rising senior. Following this tragic accident, the initial diagnosis was that Aaron would become a quadriplegic, that she spent many weeks and months hospitalized and in rehabilitation. But throughout the past year, Aaron has been fiercely focused on a single goal: to graduate with her class. Despite the odds, Aaron regained use of her arms and hands and returned to Goucher for this spring 2018. Aaron, you embody Goucher resilience. Congratulations on being with us today to receive your education.
And then she wheels across the stage and has a standing ovation for graduation, and it was just like, it was a really good day.
Erin Alexandra Fields.
She went to Somerville. I came back to Orono because this is where I was staying for the summer. And my family ended up, we still have our house in Maine, but they ended up looking into apartments in Boston. And my dad and my little brother, for the whole school year, my dad and my little brother lived at home. And then my dad, for the winter, works away in Boston. So my little brother at 13 lived with my family friends. So no parent, basically didn't have any parents around, which is like crazy. Like he grew up so quick because he didn't have a choice. He had to. Summer was nice because I spent a lot of time alone. I lived alone. I was in Orono, which is a ghost town in the summer because it's a college town. I got a job at a restaurant and I loved my job. I don't work there anymore because they're closing. But I loved my job. I made friends at work, and it was just a summer of kind of like reflection. So I kind of got to, I don't know, I painted like 6 hours a day. Like I painted a lot. And I still paint, so that's awesome because I picked up that hobby. I wrote a lot of music in the summer. Standing there at the edge of the bend, every weight sits on your chest. When things were clear, this road never messed with your head. Now it's haunting your dreams and living under your bed. Right or left, that's the question of mine. Right or wrong, that's a sign of the times. Take a step, this wolf will eat you alive. He makes you think that you can survive. And if I could, I'd save this place. The flowers of us I'd put in our face. And we stop time and disappear. Take me to the stratosphere. When I'm with you, my petals bloom. And if you go, it'll be too soon. Just a huge summer of like reflection, and I think it changed me a lot because it just made me appreciate life and the fact that being happy is like hard. Like you have to work for it, and I never really thought that before. I kind of just thought like, I don't know, you just think when the world is against you or like crashes down on you, you're like, you let it crush you. And I think it's really easy to be sad and down and find things to complain about. It's almost fun is what I realized, is to sit there and complain and like hate and be down. It's much easier to be down than to be happy, I'll say that, when you're going through a lot. But it's way more fun when you do the work to make yourself happy, and then you get to like see your results and be happy. Like, that's what you get in life. It's being happy. Like, that's the goal, you know, to be happy. And with Aaron being quadriplegic now, it's, you know, you look at life and you're like, I want to work and make all this money and live in a mansion and, I don't know, travel the world. But Erin's reality is that there's a lot of things that she's not going to be able to do as a quadriplegic. There's a lot of things she can still do, but you can choose to look at it either way. So I think I kind of learned from that. And, you know, she knows that if she's happy with her life, which today she is extremely happy. She's got her boyfriend. She's a puppy that she loves. My mom's still there every day. And she's starting to volunteer at Spalding and talk to people about, you know, how she got through it. And she's made crazy improvements. She's so much stronger. She's so much healthier. I think it's hard because as a college student, we're in an environment where we're never good enough because we need to get that GPA to get into grad school and work. And as a student athlete, it's like even more because you're working to be better in the weight room, on the playing field, and, you know, be a good teammate. And then for me, I also have a job. So it's just crazy, and life is crazy, but you need to be able to look at it and think through the crazy, what is here on your priority list. And for me, I think what I thought before was to have like this perfect life where I could go home and my family's perfect and we're together, and that's nice, but that's not reality, and that's not how it is for everyone, you know. And some people it is, and that's amazing. And, you know, I hope those people are so happy and grateful for their family being together and, you know, having like that sense of home. And I took it for granted when I had it, but, you know, now it's like when life changes, you have to make the best of it, and you have to, and for me, I had to work to be happy with it. And I'm glad I did, because, I mean, there are still things I go through today. It's still hard. Holidays are hard. It's hard to see everyone to go to like a home, a house with where their family's all together. And, you know, this was bound to happen anyway when we all grew up, but we kind of got thrown into it. So I just think it's like making yourself happy with what you have and not wishing that you had what someone else has, because it's not realistic. You have what you have. I need to add, I'm going on a trip. I've never been out of the country before, and I'm going on a trip to Amsterdam with my older brother Todd in January. So we leave January 1st and I get back January 17th, and I'm staying with my teammate who lives 20 minutes outside of Amsterdam, and I am so excited. It's gonna be so fun. I wish that my other siblings could come with us, but I hope that's like another like life-changing experience, because on all, this experience has been life-changing. I have changed more than I ever thought I could. My mindset on life, my appreciation for life, you know, yeah, I'm just happy. Things are hard sometimes, but like, I don't know, I do love my life, and I love that I have my family still, and I can see them and call them, and that they're happy. So I cannot complain, and I've kind of tried to just appreciate that life is about the experience. It's not about where you're gonna end up. So thank you for watching this. I probably left a lot out, but I've been kind of thinking about making this video for a while, and I will be making a video about my trip to Amsterdam. Thank you for watching, and I guess subscribe, because that's what we do on YouTube. And like it and comment on what you think. And yeah, just thanks for letting me be so open. All right, bye guys.